If you can help yourself to remove all the agitations, the locus of your pain or your suffering is in you, then you have 100% control over it and you can change it as and when you want. And when your mind attend to it, a memory is created. Hinduism talks about bliss, that is Anand. So question is, why do then so many people, even if they are spiritual, they suffer in life? But it's a good question. But I read or I hear an assumption. Number one, that people who are spiritual, following the Vedic prescription to be spiritual or have gone through that process of spiritual awareness or spiritual upliftment, what is in common parlance is known as self-realization. So Anand, what Hinduism or Vedic literature is proposing is to have a blissful life. And what is a blissful life? Blissful life is a Anand. Full life means a life full of Anand. And why Anand is different from ordinary happiness that you and I experience every now and then, all these joys and pleasant experiences. The difference between Anand and joy and pleasant experiences that we have is that joys and this happiness are fleeting. It comes and goes. It's not permanent. Anand is a concept which does not have a parallel English word to explain it or define it. How Anand is discussed and explained in Vedic literature, Upanishads, what have you, is Anand is a permanent state of being. It is perpetual. It continues irrespective of your internal and external circumstances. Even if your external circumstances are changing, you do not lose this state of being. So you remain in that state of being once you achieve, which comes with a lot of efforts that we have put through our life. You go through education system, you aim for a decent job, earn money, acquire a lot of means of comfort and luxury in your life. And whenever each of these desires are fulfilled, you experience happiness, which is no doubt is a glimpse of Anand. But this happiness or this glimpse of Anand is fleeting and temporary in nature. It comes and goes. You are happy 1 minute, next minute something else happens. You are sad or disappointed or angry or any other negative mood that you go into. So your happiness disappears like this. So the question here is that even though people are spiritual, so if they are spiritual, so assumption here is, are they spiritual, or you think people who are performing ritualistic activities are spiritual as well? They are two different things. You could be spiritual and you don't need to be religious. And you could be very religious, but you have no clue about being spiritual. And that's the confusion. So just because somebody appears to be religious or spiritual, they do not necessarily can have this fruit called Anand or the Karma Phal Anand, because Karma Anand as a Karma Phal is a result of your sadhanas that you have to do. So if you have done it, then you constantly remain in that state of being. That is Anand. And Anand is such a state of being, as I already said in the beginning, it does not get affected, altered, changed, or modified with changing situation and circumstances. You may have a lot of money, you may not have any money. All your desires may be fulfilled or your desires may not fulfill. Irrespective of all these external or internal modification and changes in your life, it continues. It doesn't change. It remains as it is. You remain in the state of bliss which is permanent happiness. Okay. Now, so let us understand what this Anand is. When we say Anand, do we really know what Anand is all about and how do we achieve it? And what is the mental condition for Anand to be experienced? Okay. So we will look into it. So if I start with an equation, and the equation is, if you can help yourself to remove all the agitations in your mind, let me say it again. If you can help yourself to remove all the agitations or all the causes which agitate your mind will become peaceful. And this peaceful mind is what is defined as Anand. So Anand is equal to a peaceful mind. So what we have to do, or a spiritual seeker or a sadhak or any individual who is desirous of Anand, is to work towards ensuring that either your mind is agitation free or you have won over all those factors and causes which agitate your mind. So that is what spiritually guides and teaches all those spiritual seekers to achieve that state of being. So Anand, once you are in that state of mind, once you have traveled that journey of spiritual unfoldment and have achieved that competency where you can keep your mind calm, serene, that's when you will experience Anand. Anand is not a pain relieving tablet that you can have. It's a state of being. Remaining in that way, you have to train, control, and tame your mind to work under your command. Right now, our minds are not in our control. We do not have any control over it. So it runs about in the entire universe, getting attached with lot of sense objects, creating desires and agitation in my mind. So long as we continue in that realm, we cannot experience peace of mind. So in order to have that peace of mind, there are techniques available. There are techniques prescribed by Upanishads or Vedic literature, including Gita, Vivek Chudamani, and a whole lot of other literature, and Yoga Shastra. Patanjali's Yoga Shastra has given a very succinct procedure. How do you go about doing it? Okay, so that can be achieved. And if you want to do it, obviously in this short video I cannot explain, but obviously I can mention it to you. So if you take it this way, that mind at this point in time is constantly agitated. It's full of desires. One desire is fulfilled, 10 more are in the waiting. So one desire fulfills, you feel little bit happiness or joy because your desire is fulfilled. As soon as your one desire is full, with 10 more are in waiting, and then you jump to the next one. So your joy or happiness basically is a short period of space between two desires. So when you're working on two desires, one finishes, you feel happy, little bit. And then you are agitated again because you're pursuing and chasing after your next desire. So first job is, as Patanjali recommends, is to gain control over your mind and concentrate its attention. So practices which you see all around you, people are meditating, people do this, do that. But objective in spiritual practices is to gain that first avastha where you bring your mind to develop this habit to concentrate on a point or on a thought or on a subject. Right now, mind is out of control. We don't know how to control it. So this is the practice whereby you train your mind over a period of time on a regular daily practice. You gain that concentration of mind. Once you gain that concentration of mind, the next level of competency is to sustain this concentration over a period of time. Slowly, gradually, you sustain this concentration, that your mind remain concentrated for a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, and you come to a stage where your mind remains concentrated or sustained concentration or suspended concentration all the time. So that becomes your natural state of being. That is state of being or of mind is called dhyan, which is meditation. So the first stage where you concentrate your mind is dharana, then you move on to dhyan. And when you achieve that state, then your mind achieve two things. Number one, it will stop wandering around and getting engaged with sense objects and cause desires in your mind. Why? Because now you're restraining your mind. You have gained that capability that now you can keep your mind in your control and do not allow your mind unnecessarily to go and court with sense objects and bring temptation in you. That's number one. Number two, mind has a tendency, and you can notice it. You can notice with your day-to-day experiences, mind has this tendency whereby it defines things into binary. Whenever you see an object or see any thought or idea or any experience that you have when you're talking to somebody or you are moving around in society, whatever you are getting in contact with, your mind will keep on defining things into good and bad, helpful, harmful, victory and loss, gain and loss again. So these are the binary nature of mind. So what happens is, whenever you have a positive experience of something or you have interpreted something to be positive, you will notice that corresponding positive emotion will get invoked in you, and you will feel and have positive experience. But as soon as you have interpreted a sensory stimulus that your senses are bringing into you, if you divine it negatively or interpret it negatively, corresponding negative experience will invoke into you or get invoked, and you will suffer those consequences. So the answer to your question, why do so many people suffer? The answer is, simple answer is, because they do not have control over their mind, right? It has nothing to do with anybody. Your happiness or your experiences, whatever they may be, good or bad, all experiences have nothing to do with external factors or circumstances. They are entirely my own doing, my own creation. And in fact, it may sound bad that I am blaming you, but I'm not blaming you. What I'm saying is, if you continue to remain dependent on external factors to fall in line as per your expectation, that you have the whole life for you have to wait for. But when the locus of your pain or your suffering is in you, then you have 100% control over it, and you can change it as and when you want. So that's a good news. And that is what spirituality is guiding. That learn and understand yourself and your internal mechanism, internal systems better, so that you can become master of this internal system. And if you gain mastery over your internal system, you can then gain control over your experiences as well. And then you can decide whether to be affected by the external circumstances or not. An idea you won't. So that is what is the mind does when you gain through meditation. When you gain that state of mind where mind number one is not wandering around in the world and is not defining things into binary. That's a habit. Second element where mind split things into binary conclusions or binary interpretation, it's a habit mind has. So all we'll have to do is stop this habit of mind, so that you can, when you look at something, you look at as a witness. You're not getting involved with it. So when you watch something as a witness and do not define it either negatively or positive, you will find that you have no experience, good or bad. And it is not something that you are going to, this is a very new thing. No, you have experienced it hundreds of times in your life already. So you have done it. It's just that you're not consciously aware of it, that you have done it. Whenever, and I can give you an example and you can notice it. I use this scenario for people to realize that what I'm telling you, this is how it is. For example, when you travel from, let's say you go to work or office or school or college, whatever you do. So when you are traveling to your destination, whatever that may be, if I ask you to recall and remember few things that you have seen or experienced during on your path. So you may remember 5 things, 10 things, 15 things, 20 things. But the fact of the matter is there are millions of things that your eyes have seen, but you haven't experienced it. You don't recall it, you don't remember it. You can remember 10, 15, 20 things. Why do you remember those things? Because when your senses go to a thing or an object, and when your mind attend to it, a memory is created, a conscious memory. Memory is created nonetheless. Whether your mind goes there or not, memory is already created. Memory means you have a data saved in your intellect. Conscious or unconscious or subconscious memories are being created constantly all the time. But if I ask you to recall it, you wouldn't be able to recall more than 5, 10, 20 things on your pathway to your destination. Why is that? It is that. Why? Because those other millions of things that you cannot recall, purely because your mind did not go on to those things. Your mind only went to those few things which grabbed your attention. Which means if you can learn to stop your mind to go on to the object or external circumstances, you will not experience pain or suffering that you are questioning about. How you can do it? Why people who are spiritual, people could be religious and they're doing a lot of religious activity, which is excellent, which is good. But problem that we have seen in our society these days, that we are predominantly engaged in religious activities which are only part of the scheme. Religious activities are essentially important and extremely useful for a spiritual path, but they're only part of it. The second part, there are seldom people who even know that after completing ritualistic performances in our life, we have to progress to the next phase. So there are two phases of spiritual practice. One is the external practices, jisko bahirang sadhana we say, external primary practices, which involve all those religious activities like puja, part, arti, bhajan, kirtan, fasting, going to temple, tirth yatra, and a whole lot of satsang, for example, reciting, verses, chanting, reading books. All these things are external practices. All these activities are designed to provide your mind a pious environment to roam within. So rather than roaming in the entire verse and thinking about a whole lot of unnecessary things, these religious activities are there to provide a confinement for your mind to roam within and remain positive while you conduct all these religious activities, you perform these religious activities. Okay. Once you do it, the next phase of activity is called antaranga sadhanas, which advanced internal spiritual practices. And those spiritual practices are the same which I've already talked about. It's called dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Okay. So when your mind comes to the state of samadhi, samadhi is not, that is the common understanding. Normally we say refer to people's tombs, when people die or high saintly people die. So we make a tomb and we refer it to samadhi. That's fine. We call it samadhi, it's another noun. But the samadhi in Yoga Shastra is a state of mind where your mind becomes equanimous and it does not define things into binary fashion. That is called samadhi. Sama equal, dhi means buddhi. When your buddhi becomes equanimous, that is called samadhi. Okay. Once you achieve that state of being, then the actual process is to do chitta shuddhi. Chitta shuddhi means cleansing your mind. What we have to cleanse our mind of or from? We have to cleanse our mind with all the impurities that we have collected over a period of time. Right? That is what the spiritual practice recommends. So, if you are spiritual in real sense of the word, then yes, you will gain that control whether to suffer in life or not. The idea of spirituality, as prescribed or recommended by our literature, including Gita, Upanishad, Vedic literature, and a whole lot of other things, is to help us to gain that control over our life so that we can live a life, a blissful life with peace and contentment, and be successful at whatever we want to aspire, whatever we want to do in life, whether you want to do business, you want to do a job, or as high as you want to, climb. You can do all those sort of things, and you can earn as much as you want, collect as much wealth as you can acquire, as much gold, as much, means of comfort, bigger house, cars, all these things you can do. Sanatan literature does not deny us the luxuries of the physical phenomenal world. What it says to us is, do not become enslaved of these things, and do not become dependent on these physical or material things for your happiness. Why? Because happiness is not in those things. Happiness is very much within yourself, and you need to learn to gain or access that locus of happiness within yourself. So, in fact, if you think about it, material life and spiritual life must be joined together. It cannot be separated. The problem that we experience these days, or the question that your question was, that why people are suffering, why so many people are suffering, why? Because they have given up on their spiritual life. They don't even know what a spiritual life is, and they're so focused in earning money, preparing to earn money, finding jobs to earn money or business to earn money, and then chasing after that money. And when you are on the other side of your life, when you cross 50, 60, that sort of age, that's when you start to wonder, despite all that wealth I've accumulated, why am I not happy? Well, you're chasing after the wrong end. Physical equipments or physical material things cannot give you permanent happiness. They can give you fleeting, temporary joys, but they can't give you permanent happiness. Why? Because they themselves are not permanent. So if something is not permanent, how can it give you permanent happiness? So permanent happiness, you have to come back to yourself. And if you are spiritual in the real sense of the word, then suffering will remain miles away from you. Nothing in this world can cause any pain or suffering to you, no matter what happens. You can lose all that you have, or you can gain all that you can. None of these two will affect your state of mind. You will remain as calm, clean, and serene, unagitated, unexcited, and just enjoy life. So that's what, I hope I answered your question. And we will take such questions in next videos. And I hope you like it. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening to me. Hope it was useful. Thank you.